Okay, so ever further in the Doomsday Killer storyline. So we were right. In our theory, Travis did confront Geller years and years back with the John the Revelator sword and confront him with the ideology that the world needs to be punished and sinners need to be punished and all that kind of stuff. But then Geller was the one who actually didn't go through that. He called Travis delusional and told him that he lost his job because Travis stole the sword. The university thought he was the one behind the theft, so they thought it was him, so they fired him. But then the Geller, in the midst of all that, he called Travis delusional and pushed him away because of his ideology, and then to prove, I think he said to prove that Geller was one of the witnesses and whatnot to the end of days and something. He stabbed him with the sword to prove that the sword won't go through, it won't kill you because you're a part of all this stuff. But then he ended up actually killing Geller after that. And then he kept him away in the freezer, and then he came up with that whole identity to actually push him forward and to push him through his DDK mindset and to go forth with all of these tableau killings and all of that. So he's been seeing Geller in the same way that Dexter has been seeing Harry all this time. That has been his dark passenger, and that has been the version of Geller that he wanted throughout throughout this whole kind of crusade. But it's the one that he never actually got. So yeah, that's that. So we had Wormwood is the next sacrifice, and I don't know if it's going to be Wormwood is going to be the next tableau, and I don't know if, I assume because that was the last painting they revealed, I assume that's going to be the final tableau as well. There was nothing else that they revealed. At the same time, there was nothing else that was painted, so maybe that was the newest one they got to. Or the most recent one they got to, so we don't know for sure if that's the final one, but I feel like the way they're going and the way this has been paced out so far, I feel like Wormwood might be the final one, and then maybe in the next episode, Dexter might foil his plans in this, and then Travis might try and improvise a new sort of a new tableau to really push in the whole end of days thing. So that might happen, but it's a poison gas. It's chemical warfare. So apparently, in his eyes, God condones chemical warfare. In his eyes, God's been condoning a load of stuff. So chemical warfare is just the newest installment in his plans. So it is a poison gas that he's created probably in batches. That he's going to be releasing at his chosen destination, which is the Miami Metro Police Department. So after Batista went over to interview interrogate Steve's wife. Travis was there, and then he knocked him out, and then found his badge and said, "Yeah, this is going to be our new location. This is going to be the next target for the new tableau." So he's going to try and murder a whole bunch of police officers. Which makes sense because in his eyes, the police are active obstacles. They are actively trying to prevent him from killing any more people and take him in for the people he's already killed. So to taking out another obstacle would make sense in his grand plan. But he did get to Holly Benson. And he did kill her, and she was anchored to the ship. So I'm still angered about that because I feel like that could have been held off for a little bit longer. She could have survived, but to actually get the message across, and I guess for shock value they would have had to go through with her kill. So she didn't really get to live her life of freedom for too long, and as soon as she saw his face, I think she did realize I think she saw his face before she recognized his voice. I thought she would have had to recognize his voice almost immediately, but then I don't know, because he didn't really give her much time to react. He just immediately walked through the front door and then started sending his other disciples after her as well. But then I figure maybe from her perspective, her last few days of life were filled with paranoia. Maybe she thought that, oh, what if he changes his mind? What if he comes back for me? What if he realizes he made a mistake of letting me go, which he eventually did, and then he tries to come back for her. So I think maybe Travis showing up actually pretty much fulfilled those fears that she had, that he would eventually come back for her and maybe he would find her again. So, she seemed awfully calm though, for like someone who could have been living with that paranoia. Maybe having that paranoia, maybe pushing it to the back of her head and trying to live a free life now, but then at the last minute being like, okay, yep, those fears were true, he did come back for me, he did find me. So yeah, but she didn't get to live her life as freely as she had hoped, and he came back and he convinced Beth and Steve to kill her. Beth seemed a lot less like enthusiastic about that, like, especially about killing Holly. She was like, she's happy to follow him into the fires of hell and do all of this Book of Revelation stuff, but killing another person is where she draws the line. Like, hey, you are the Doomsday Killer. Even the news says so. You can do all the killing yourself. I'm just here to, do all my discipling and all that stuff. So killing was where she drew the line. She wasn't comfortable with actually having to kill another person, as long as she could just watch Travis do the killing himself. That was fine. But Steve, he was happy to take a swing into her stomach with that knife, and he was happy to do anything. So, I feel like Steve could have been the one who corrupted Beth in the first place too. Like, Beth could have just been, she could have been curious about the stuff, like what it all meant, but then Steve, being an avid like fan and follower of the Doomsday Killer, could have been the one to truly corrupt her, and actually, actually pull her into this little rabbit hole with him. At which point, her hesitation when it came to killing her was the last shred of humanity she had left, and it was her questioning whether or not she actually had the strength to go through, then her actually, still having some sense of sanity left. But then Steve, he was already too far deep. He was already just BFFs with Travis at that point, so he was willing to do anything. And he was even at the end, in the hazmat suit, doing the rest of Travis's work and securing the rest of the Wormwood. So yeah, and Dexter killed the wrong man again, but I feel like this wrong man kill isn't really going to be as impactful for him. In this case, Steve was still an accomplice to murder, so an accomplice an accomplice to murder, so he was still guilty as charged in any case anyway, so this one won't be as bad. But yeah, Travis, he had quite the history too. He grew up with he had quite the psychotic kind of appraisal, and he had delusions of grandeur and stuff, and his therapist said that he may have tried to he tried to kill his parents. And apparently he lunged at his father while they were on a family drive, and then that's when the car turned into a tree. You guys know, so I don't have to explain it, but not actually turned into a tree. Yeah. Anyway, but he grew up with all sorts of hatred and anger and all of that stuff, and I don't know if they've ever specified that he grew up in a religious family, a religious upbringing, or maybe if he just found all sorts of religious stuff on his own. I mean, a child not being brought up in a religious household, but still managing to find religious stuff, and then through their own through their own actions and motivations being enthusiastic about religious stuff. I don't really see that happening. Without the parents somehow steering them in the way of religion, I don't really find it plausible enough to believe that a child could actually not only find religion on their own, but also actually delve into it on their own. But I could be wrong. There could be cases like that happen, but Travis was an extra special case, and I feel Dexter said maybe his sister just didn't know, but his sister would have. His sister would have known. I feel like maybe his sister was protecting him. Yeah, his sister could have been protected because I think she was his older sister. I think I remember her referring to Travis as her baby brother one time. I think the first time we met her I think the first time we met her, I think she actually referred to him as her baby brother. So she was the older one. I think maybe she the way she saw it, it was probably just an accident. He was probably just lashing out as any kid would, and then it turned into something so horrific. And then she promised to take care of him for the rest of his life, and subsequently for the rest of her life too. But I think maybe true. I think any kind of psychotic outbreaks or any like lash outs or any kind of mental issues he had, she kind of coined it up to trauma or something like that, or like depression or some sort of anything like that related to the loss of their parents, and she didn't really think too much of it. And maybe he turned to, people in times of loss and trauma, it's not really unusual for people to turn to God or to religion or something like that, to like turn to a higher power. So maybe she saw it in that sense as well. So she constantly saw the version of Travis that because she accepted it that way, because she didn't really question him too much on it, because she just saw it as him dealing with his own stuff in his own way, she still accepted him for it. And Travis saw this, so there was a side to Travis that had a soft spot for her. There was a side to Travis that actually did love her, and she was the only one he actually cared about and saw as a genuine person in his life, and everyone else was everyone else was a sinner or something, or some victim in his grand plan. But then the Geller side to him, the Geller side to him that was his dark passenger, did convince him that she was a sinner too, in some sense, and that she matched she matched the description for the Whore of Babylon and all that stuff. So that side to him, the delusions, the Book of Revelations delusions and all that stuff, that side I identified. Wait, what was it? What was her name again? I've forgotten his sister's name. I have it in my notes. I can't be asked to look up in the internet again. I don't know how I lost her name. No, wrong one. Wrong one again. Yeah. Oh, it's pages back. What was her sister's name? I had it on the tip of my tongue and I just lost it. Travis Marshall's sister. Lisa, that was it. I was thinking like Sarah. No, that is all right. Sally? No. Lisa. She's Lisa. But what was I gonna say? There was a side of that Geller side of Travis identified Lisa as like a potential victim to one of their tableaus, and constantly to maybe most of their tableaus, because I think I think in the beginning of the series we did see that Geller, that version of Geller was advising Travis against being connected to his sister, because she would only draw him away from the path and she would distract him and all that stuff. So that side of him also identified Lisa as a weakness, as an obstacle to the grand plan, which eventually led to his dark passenger realizing that she needed to be killed and needed to be added to their plan in this sense. So yeah, I think for the most part he did see Lisa as still as the one person in his life who he still cared about, and the one person in his life who he wanted to keep away from all this. And that side of him, the Travis side of him, managed to see that there is still a light in your life, and that light is Lisa in this sense. So yeah, but that was that. We had Lewis asking Dexter about the game and the video game. Right, okay, so I don't know how to approach this, truth be told. I don't know how exactly to approach this, because on the one hand it's okay, so his game, I think it said it was called Homicidal Tendencies, and he said it was about where you play as a serial killer. Now, he's working as, generally speaking, I don't know anyone at Miami Metro who would support that, given that they've spent a lot of time, that they have tracked down and captured many serial killers over time, over the years. So him working at a police department making a game where you play as someone that that the other officers spend their careers and their lives catching. I don't know who would approve of that. But I mean, of course, it's no fault of his own that he decides to ask Dexter about this kind of stuff. And on the one hand, I felt like Dexter would they would kind of take more of a comical route, but at the same time, I think the way they went with this, I actually did like it, because the way they went with this was Dexter actually taking great offense from it, because especially the way Lewis phrased it, like, oh, in this game you get to play as a serial killer, like, you get to play as, it's like they give you options and you can actually consciously pick the identity of a serial killer, and the serial killers available, like he said, like Jack the Ripper, Dahmer, and of course the Bay Harbor Butcher. So obviously, like, Dexter's internal monologue being like, I am the Bay Harbor Butcher, I don't need to play myself, I'm already living this game, this is literally me. So he's making a game essentially based off of Dexter's life, because I mean, if you're playing as a serial killer, the kind of logical assumption to make is you have to go around killing people and not get caught for it. That's like Dexter just playing a VR experience of his everyday life. Like a fourth wall thing would be if you actually play as someone inside the Miami Metro. Like if your character has a job within the Miami Metro, maybe not as a blood spatter, unless that would be too on the nose. But maybe if you're a detective, or if you're like some kind of police officer or cop or something, and then you actually have to play as the Beyond Butcher. But yeah, I mean, that kind of thing, it's understandable that Dexter would take great offense to that, because at the same time, again, the way that like insinuates that, like, you get to play as a serial killer, like, as if it's a choice. Like, Dexter, like, being a serial killer is not a choice for him. It's like it's something that he was unfortunately pushed towards, and it's something that it's a curse of his. Like, his dark passenger is a curse that he has to live with every day, and it's something that he kind of like wonders every day. He wonders every day whether or not he can actually kind of get rid of it in some way or live without it, but he can't, and it's a result of a hugely traumatic incident from his past that has led him this way, and also Harry's appraisal led him to be this way. So like, being a serial killer, it's not really like all fun and games. It's not something he doesn't live every day killing more people to rack up more points or anything. He kills people to protect people, but also to keep his dark passenger at bay, because if he knows that if Harry's code is the one thing keeping his dark passenger in line, so if he lets go of that, he could go on any kind of killing spree he wants, and it's just something he suffers with. It's not something he wants, it's something he's always trying to look up ways to actually get rid of, and how to protect the people around him. He's lost the people around him to his dark passenger, so be it like there being a video game centered around being a serial killer, it's something that he would take he understandably would take great offense from. But again, it's no fault of Lewis's that he asked Dexter of all people to review it. But I feel like anyone else would have still had somewhat of a similar reaction. Like, maybe not as sensitive, but like anyone else, like, I mean, had he asked Batista would have probably kicked his ass. But had he asked anyone else, that they probably would tell him, like, you're working as an intern in a police department and you're making a game where you get to play as a criminal. Like, is that really the smartest idea? Like, maybe like make a video game where you actually play as a police officer. I mean, making the police officer be the protagonist and having them, go around solving cases and winning points and stuff that way. That would probably be like a better gift to the police department than actually making a game playing their enemy. And then even then, that would just give people ideas, like, oh, like, so in the game, like, you have to try and hide the body or clean up the evidence, or like, try and steer the police away from the crime scene, like that kind of stuff. It's a bad influence for people. So I mean, again, that would also bring up the whole video games being bad for people debate, and that's a whole other story for a whole other day. But I feel like the overall concept of his game just doesn't really bode well for his kind of like the work environment he's in either way. But I mean, this guy has the eye struck killer arm in his apartment, so morality isn't really much of a strong point here, clearly. I mean, I doubt he's killed anyone in real life, but the fact that he's so interested in serial killers as a whole is just kind of, it's a questionable topic, and it's also a questionable kind of career choice in terms of like actually creating video games. But yeah, I mean, but yeah, the Dexter taking offense from that is very understandable. Again, it's not something he wants to live with. It's something that he's fighting to get rid of every day. It's something that he's had to suffer with, and it's a result of watching someone very, very close to him being brutally murdered. And he's lost people to this. He's had to kill some of those people to this, and he's never once he's never once met anyone who actively supported this, this side of him after they found it out. And even if they did, he either lost those people or they left him in some way. Like Lumen, he left. She left him after her own dark passenger was removed. So she wasn't connected to him in the same way as before. So she left him, and he had to kill his own brother. He had to kill Miguel. He had to kill what was her name? Not Lisa. Was it Lisa? No, it wasn't Lisa. No, Lila. That's it, from season 2. Lila. He's had to kill a bunch of people, and like some people he thought he had a connection with, even with the Dark Passenger. Some people he's lost because this stuff is not something that's easy for Dexter to have to deal with, and to have someone make something as trivial as a game to to try and further trivialize it and to seemingly rack up points and win stuff like that, win some kind of point system and treat it as something that it's a cool concept if it would happen, like a serial killer working inside and whatever, playing as a serial killer, going on killing people. Oh yeah, sure, that's fun, it's a great stress reliever. But for Dexter, killing people is a stress reliever in the darkest way possible. So again, makes sense that Dexter wouldn't really take much of a shine to that game. So I mean, Lewis seemed like he took much less of a shine towards Dexter after being scolded for it, and he just immediately went straight to work and just cut the concert with the date night with Jamie off afterwards. So he took it harder than I initially imagined. But I mean, if he had I would hope that next time he sees Lewis, he would kind of explain to him in a more passive aggressive way why this is a bad idea, and kind of let the more human side of him do the talking as opposed to letting the Dark Passenger talk. And I think in that moment as well, anyone could tell Dexter was in a less than good mood. He was hoping that Jamie would be able to babysit for him, but then she has to go on a date with Lewis. So then that takes more time out of Dexter's evening to do whatever it is he needs to do. So I feel like that kind of added to the situation as well. So yeah, but hopefully they can get that situation resolved by the next episode or in the next couple of episodes. That was that. And we also had Dexter and Deborah, their kind of appraisal kind of further explored through Deborah's therapy, and I think that felt kind of nice in the sense that Dexter and Deborah definitely do see each other as anchors in each other's lives. Deborah is the one piece of family he has left after everything, and she's the one human thing in his life left as well, especially after Rita. She's the one human thing in his life he has left, along with Harrison, of course. But in terms of long running family member, Deborah is the last thing he has left to that, and he wants to preserve that as much as possible. And with Dexter, he's also a great kind of human anchor in Deborah's life. He's always been there for her in her times of mental stress and troubles and needs, and she's always seen him as an anchor. So she even said anytime she had a night terror or a nightmare, she would go up to his room and curl up on the floor, and then he would either never notice or just never care and just allow her to feel safe there. So they do find warmth and comfort and safety in each other, and actually find that kind of feel in the midst of all these dark times, they do manage to still find some familial love with each other, which I think is a nice thing to explore. So it's a nice testament to how far their relationship has come from their early years, when we saw flashbacks and we saw how jealous Deborah was of Dexter and his close relationship with Harry, to them growing up to be such despite being adoptive siblings, to being such close family and all of that stuff. So it's nice for them to showcase that as well, an actual strong and loving relationship between adoptive siblings, between a child who had blood parents and then an adopted sibling as well. It's nice to see how close that can actually be, because I think I've seen it in a lot of other kind of movies and TV shows, they showcase that as like a really, really negative kind of thing, and it's like, you know, oh, like the more they grow up, the more they grow to resent each other because they're not really family, or because they have their own issues, and then being adopted just adds on to that weight. So, you know, to see this being showcased as something so strong is a really, really good sign to see. So yeah, it was nice to see that. It was nice to see them symbolizing that. But that is pretty much all I have. So looking forward to seeing how Dexter works to stop Travis's plan from being fulfilled, and how he stops the Wormwood attack at the police department, and just seeing how everything continues to unfold in this season. So, and I don't know if it was just me, but I personally felt like this episode ran a lot faster than the previous ones too. Like in terms of stuff going down, in terms of pacing, this one felt like it ran a lot faster. But I don't know, maybe it's just because it's been a couple of weeks since I've actually watched the damn show. So yeah, we'll see how everything goes, but that is it for this one. So that was Dexter, Season 6, Episode 10, titled Ricochet Rabbit. I was about to say Rocket, no, Ricochet Rabbit. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed it, then salt and burn that like button. Comment on either the episode and what you think is coming up next in the series, and yeah, that's it. So I will see you guys next time.